Hi guys, Luke here of SimBoxx. This is the Sweet Science with SimBoxx, brought to you in conjunction with Clint Patrick. Check those guys out over on Instagram. The Sweet Science with SimBoxx. Today we're looking at the 50th anniversary of the fight of the century. March 8th, 1971, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. Muhammad Ali, 31-0, Joe Frazier, 26-0. Two men with legitimate claims to be the number one heavyweight on the planet. Muhammad Ali in 1967 was stripped of his world titles for refusing to be inducted into the armed forces with his political views, and in the meantime Joe Frazier would go on to pick up those titles while Muhammad Ali retained the Lineal and Ring Magazine titles. So both men heading into this fight had legitimate claims to be the number one heavyweight on the planet. This was the first time that two undefeated heavyweights would clash. Great sport develops great rivalries, and they really do stand the test of time. You know, be it the Boston Red Sox against the New York Yankees, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal in tennis, Manchester United and Liverpool in football, Steve Ovett and Sebastian Coe in athletics. Time and time again in sport, when two Goliaths, two huge names are competing at the same time, it makes for a great rivalry. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier surpassed the majority of rivalries, the greatest rivalries of all time. Frazier and Ali stand above them all, in my opinion, and this truly was a great rivalry. It had such cultural and political significance, it transcended the sport of boxing. This fight would go on to gross somewhere in the region of $45 million. If you was to adjust that for inflation, that'd be somewhere around $300 million in today's money. It's astronomical figures. Everybody and their dog wanted to see the result of this fight. Over half, or almost half, of the British population watched this fight when it was broadcast on BBC One. It was broadcast in theatres in the middle of the night in the UK and still done astronomical numbers. It sold out Madison Square Garden. There's over 20,000 fans in the most famous arena in the world for the most famous fight of all time. Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier over 15 rounds. It was an absolute war. Joe Frazier would go on to score what some would consider the upset victory, picking up the win before they would go on to fight another 2 times with the Super Fight 2 and the Thrilla in Manila. My co-host of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast, Ewan, is going to go into and break down the fight a little bit more in depth and give his thoughts on the fight of the century.
50 years on, it's hard to contemplate a boxing match where the very heart of a nation was the prize. This was the case though on the 8th of March 1971 as Muhammad Ali, carrying with him the hopes of liberalism in America, stepped out of his exile to try and take back his old title from the man the establishment preferred, the indomitable Smokin' Joe Frazier. The fight of the century's cultural impact can't be understated. It had ramifications in politics, pop culture, and the very fabric of America. This is seen most clearly by the fact that Frank Sinatra, one of the biggest pop culture heroes of the 20th century, was taking photos for Life magazine. The clash of personalities was evident as the war of words began before the punching started. Ali started fast, up on his toes, using his trademark jab and hand speed to gain the advantage. The speed did not faze Joe Frazier, who used his bobbing and weaving technique to get on the inside and pressure Ali from the beginning. His much overlooked jab pushed Ali back to the ropes where he could unload with his trademark hooks. Frazier was able to absorb the punches from Ali and keep coming, something that no man had ever done before. The two sparred verbally as well as in the ring, talking constantly to one another and trading insults. Ali would famously remember that Joe Frazier was the only guy who ever talked back. The most telling punch throughout the fight was Joe Frazier's vicious left hook. A powerful weapon, it stunned Ali every time it landed cleanly. Then, in the 15th round, the unthinkable happened. The self-proclaimed greatest fighter to ever live was knocked down. Ali recovered quickly, but the damage was done. It was clear now that he had lost the biggest fight of his career. Joe Frazier had become the new undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, defeating the man whose title he'd won in exile and cementing his place in boxing history forever.